I'm on the Wikipedia page for the Na'vi language. It is extensive. Welcome to Noise Floor, a podcast about music and our favorite artists' discographies. I'm Troy Sennett.
And I'm Matt Kistler.
And can I get a goddamn timpani roll to start this goddamn podcast? Because today we are talking about the fourth Bright Eyes album, Lifted, or The Story Is in the Soil, Keep Your Ear to the Ground. And that is my favorite moment on this album.
It's so good. I had forgotten about it somehow. Because it's been a long time since I last listened to this, but I got to that point and I was like, I knew there are a lot of reasons I like this album, but that is one of them.
Yeah, it's so good. But yes, this album came out in August of 2002 on Saddle Creek, like every Bright Eyes thing up until this point. Produced by Mike Mogis and Andy LeMaster. Again, like pretty much every Bright Eyes thing up to this point, mixed by Mike Mogis. And this is, kind of Bright Eyes' magnum opus, at least up to this point. It is certainly the, one of their most popular albums, one of their most, well-regarded, fondly remembered albums by a lot of fans. I think it's probably where a lot of people got on board, and, unsurprisingly, would probably be ranked, one or two by most fans ranking the discography. But what about you, Matt? Was this a big one for you around when it came out, or when you were getting into the band?
This was the one that got me into the band. I don't remember exactly when I first heard it. It had to have been around 2002 or 2003 though, because it was I was into the band for a decent while before Digital Ash and I'm Wide Awake It's Morning came out. I was maybe in a phase of life where I wasn't doing big air quotes, doing full albums quite as much as I do nowadays. That changed not very long after this. So I definitely listened to this album a decent amount as a teenager, but I mostly listened to Lover I Don't Have to Love and Bowl of Oranges back to back all the time, because those two songs rule. And that's maybe not shocking given that those are two of they are the singles off of the album.
Yeah, it's quite a 1-2 punch.
But I kind of revisiting this, in totality for the first time in a while, because I've put it on every once in a while in the last 20 plus years, obviously, but kind of sitting down with it and hearing the different component parts, I'm like, man, so much of my music taste now makes more sense now that I'm revisiting this early seminal album for me. Just we've had the kind of sound collage and found sound type stuff happening throughout the discography so far, but I don't think I clocked that as a thing I liked back in the day. But I hear the intro to The Big Picture and some of the other kind of quote unquote incidental stuff that happens throughout this album, and I'm like, this is the kind of stuff that I listen to just straight nowadays. I was recommending Claire Rousey to a friend earlier, and I was like, yeah, this is why I like Claire Rousey so much, is because Bright Eyes was doing that, but in smaller chunks.
You think Conor is a big experimental ambient head?
So this is the thing that I can't quite tell. I'm not sure where that influence comes from, or if it's just fucking around. Because he mentioned in that MTV2 interview that they had not really been doing the kind of noisy lo-fi field recordy thing on purpose up to this point, but Lifted, having the intro of The Big Picture, which we'll get into in a little bit here, be the way that it is, was this was the first time that was really a conscious choice to do it like that. So I'm kind of wondering if it was just accidental up to this point and a result of fucking around, which is how most good music is made, in fairness.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that the intro to Fevers and Mirrors is just fucking around or whatever. That feels very intentional.
Yeah.
So I kind of trust some of the things Conor says in that interview as much as I trusted the things that Tony said in the Armed interviews.
Right. Yeah. We've got some unreliable narrator stuff going on a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. But like I agree that it's they're drawing from a lot of different influences and kind of a wider pool of influences on this album, even more so than on the last couple.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, in this, like, I think it's worth kind of looking at some of the context of this, of what's going on in Conor's career and Bright Eyes' career around this point. So like, Fevers and Mirrors is where they start getting a lot of sort of, I guess, college radio and sort of underground attention. And then in 2001, Conor forms Desaparecidos, the sort of very political punk band that he plays in on the side, and they release Read Music Speak Spanish. Actually, they record Read Music Speak Spanish in 2001. It comes out in February 2002, which is right after Bright Eyes has finished recording Lifted. So those two albums are very much tied together. They're kind of those two things are kind of happening around the same time. And then Lifted doesn't come out until sort of the summer of 2002. But I love that Desaparecidos record. And I love the second Desaparecidos record even more. We should at some point go circle back and like do actual episodes on those albums because they're very, very good.
Hard agree. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And like this was the first time hearing Lifted and sort of thinking about the context of of it compared to Desaparecidos, because there is stuff on this album that is more like focus, like thinking about the world at large and more political than I had ever kind of realized Bright Eyes did. I always thought that was kind of like a, at this point in his career, I always kind of thought of the political stuff as being separated into Desaparecidos, but it's really all over this album.
It really is. And I'll tell you right now that I didn't really notice that when I was younger either, because I remember being like shocked in a pleasant way when he dropped when the president talks to God a few years later, which is very directly about George W. Bush. And I was like, oh hell yeah, this guy knows his shit.
Yeah, but then it's all there in like, let's not shit ourselves too. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how I didn't really notice that at first.
Right. And like, but this whole album, like, I think the idea that this album is a little more, I don't know if worldly is the right word, but a little more like outwardly focused. We talked about like outward versus inward focused albums a lot with some of the other artists we've covered.
Yeah.
But I think the sort of genesis of this album is Conor and Mike Mogus have this idea they call it like a sort of grandiose sound, something that is just sounds bigger, more orchestrated, more sort of fully realized than anything they'd done before. And I mean, I think they achieve it. And I think that it's also like a really great marriage of sound and theme, because this whole album is kind of about like the grandiosity of dreams and ambitions and the grandiosity of love and the like hugeness of feeling and transcendence. And it really feels like they were just like firing on all cylinders, just all on the same wavelength of like what Conor was writing about and the music they were making at this time.
Yeah, we really, there are definitely times where I feel like those two things are mismatched in certain songs. And those are usually the like, more I wrote this song and I need to record it now type things where we get the kind of like more lo-fi stuff. But like everything feels like it's locking into place here in a lot of ways.
So you think the sort of longer lo-fi ones don't work as well?
I don't necessarily think that that's true. I just think that like the instrumental and the vocals / lyrics are like really like locking into one another in this situation. Like it feels like we've got this big message because it's not hiding behind, no, I don't want to say timidity, because I don't know that that's necessarily true in all cases, but it often is for a lot of these earlier Bright Eyes songs.
Yeah, there's like a fearlessness to this album that I think you're right, not to call like Fevers and Mirrors an album that is, made out of any kind of like, fear or anxiety. I mean, it's certainly anxiety, but
certainly
not like anxiety about like putting yourself out there. Like that's what Bright Eyes is. But like you think about a lot of underground or kind of, indie DIY artists might kind of not want to, you don't want to go for a radio thing. And it's not like this album is a radio play, but like these songs have hooks and ultimately this album did make Bright Eyes like a huge mainstream band. They've started touring in buses. They took a 14-piece band on the road. Like, they charted on the Billboard chart. Like, this was all stuff. That stuff was a big deal at the time. And even, Conor even says in the interview with what was the magazine? I don't remember what it was called, but where he's like, this was meant to be a big CD. It's like enormous production, and it's the biggest like we've done as far as arrangement and scope. And they spent longer making it than they had spent making a record before. And it just, I don't know, like you said, it all comes together in a really satisfying way. And I guess I should have said this before, that like this was not an album that I particularly liked for a long time. I liked songs off of it, but my impression of it was always like, this thing is too long and it really needs to be edited down. And there's large chunks of it that are pretty boring. And when I listened to it this week again, I was just like completely in awe of it. I think it achieves the transcendence that Conor is writing about, with just a couple exceptions.
Yeah, like I kind of going back and listening to it, like I knew it was long, and I knew that like I didn't necessarily feel like the hooks from all the songs that I felt from like some of the bigger ones, like Bowl of Oranges, Lover I Don't Have to Love, Let's Not Shit Ourselves. But like kind of going back on these recent listens, like, yeah, there are songs with like a lot of verses, and like we'll talk about kind of some structural like patterns that we notice in these songs. And one that I notice is a lot of these songs are like kind of through composed, like each stanza is like a vignette, and we just move on to another one, and they're like tied together theme wise. And like in my head, I'm bound to like think that one of these doesn't work. And by and large, I don't. Like, I'm like, I wouldn't get rid of any of this, honestly. Well, but to be fair, if you got rid of like some things on this record, I probably wouldn't notice necessarily. But I can't point out what those things are.
Yeah, we'll come to a song or two that I could live without, even though I think like with all the B-sides that are out there, I think he absolutely made the right choices about which songs should be on the album.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But also, have you ever looked at the liner notes for Lifted?
I have not. I don't know that I've ever owned a real physical copy of this CD, because I had a burned copy from my friend Tim, who introduced me to the band.
Okay.
And I think I might still have that lying around somewhere. I'll try to find it.
So the liner notes are cool because it's all, just visually, it's set up to look like an old book. And so there's like a table of contents for the track list, but all of the lyrics are written out like in prose.
Okay.
So it even that kind of lines up with the way you're sort of hearing the album is very vignette-y, very feeling like it's a little more, maybe literary in its ambitions, or a little more interested in theme than necessarily like the poetry of it. Because if you flip through this, it literally just looks like you're flipping through a novel, or a group, or a collection of short stories or something. And so I think it's just another way that the aesthetics, the visual presentation of it all comes together with what the band was achieving with the music on this.
Yeah, that checks out. I'm not surprised at all to hear that.
But yeah, and I think, like I said earlier, I think this album has like really stood the test of time, much more so than the first few Bright Eyes albums. I know for a fact that like Bowl of Oranges in particular is a song that people still go back to. One of my best friends in high school has the lyrics from Bowl of Oranges tattooed on her wrist. I think she got that tattoo on her 18th birthday, if I remember right.
Love that.
And it's still out there on the internet. You can find pictures that she posted on Tumblr that occasionally go viral. Yeah, I don't know. I like. There was a review, one of the retrospectives, maybe the Stereo Gum, I don't remember which one, where I think it was Tom Bryan was the writer, was talking about how he was like, he's about the same age as Conor, and he was like, I don't think Conor could have made this record at any other age than roughly 22 years old, and I couldn't have fallen in love with it at any other age than 22 years old. And like, I kind of get that a little bit, but I also am just kind of still amazed by it in my mid 30s. Like, it doesn't feel, like something that is too mired in like the sadness of youth or anything. It feels bigger in a way that I think is pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's interesting to read because I think both the Stereogum retrospectives that we've encountered so far are both written by him, and like in a lot of ways it feels like he's like tamping his feelings about the work down a little bit because of like, you know, the kind of emotional nature of especially like the earlier Bright Eyes stuff. But I pulled another quote from that one that I really liked that I think kind of ties back to a lot of stuff we've talked about so far. And it was when Oberst is braying about his absent God, his need to believe and to be loved in his soul. I still feel something. Oberst was channeling big feelings unlifted, and some big feelings don't age. Like that's kind of it in a nutshell.
I think that's exactly right. We should talk about the songs.
Yeah, let's get into it.
Our collection of stuff that we were pulling from for this episode spans stuff that came out before and after the album, but we should just do the album first because
it's a big one. Not nearly as big as a collection of songs in terms of number of songs, but big nonetheless.
Yes. This album starts with The Big Picture, which opens with Blake Sennett and Jenny Lewis from Rilo Kiley, band we've talked about extensively on this show. Just talking about driving around Omaha, I guess. And there's this kind of like quiet drone that's building, and this little like plucked guitar sneaks in, and you hear Jenny say, "Wait, I love this song." And the road noise continues. And it's as if like they're hearing the song on the radio, and Jenny is kind of quietly singing along to parts of it. It's a very like, you know, strange, almost surreal effect that you know, it's just the kind of thing that I was like have not heard another band do. And even if it's a little corny, it also just kind of works. I
really love that, honestly. And it's cool, especially given that that on Fevers and Mirrors we had the fake interview on an attempt to tip the scales, which like then again diegetically like transitions into Conor playing Song to Pass the Time in the studio. So like it's kind of cool that we get like, I don't know if it was necessarily a nod to that because Conor does a lot of this kind of stuff. Like, you know, we had the quote unquote neighbor song sound in a couple of places in the last episode. But I think this is like a neat, novel way to do that. And I think the effect of Jenny singing along like lightly, it really adds to it.
Yeah. And then, I mean, that's nothing of the song itself, which is this kind of epic, almost 8-minute opener that is just Conor with a guitar and is sort of introducing a lot of the ideas of what this album is about, I think, which is this sort of like the grandiosity of the world, the sort of hugeness of trying to have these big ambitions and dreams, and feeling like whether it's the world or religion or whatever it is, that it kind of won't let you, you know, are telling you can't achieve the things you want to achieve.
Yeah. We've got some big concepts right out the gate here. And I do, like you said, it feels like that sets the stage for everything we're gonna hear here. Yeah,
and you know, it brings in this idea. I think the term lifted, the central the title of the album. So one of the central themes, like, talks about veils being lifted in this. And then also this idea of like almost this rapturous, you can just let go and be lifted to the sky that comes in at the end. But I guess the moment that I really love most in this song is I guess there's two. It's the end of two different stanzas. If it's cool if you keep quiet, but I like singing. And then later on, if it makes you happy, then keep kneeling, Mom, but I'm standing up. Just the sort of like just like the drive, the sort of ferocity with the way that he sings those it's just great with just him and the guitar. It sounds amazing.
It really does. And like, yeah, that he does that like fun kind of structural trick at the end of, I think most of, if not all of these verses where it kind of ends with like, but if, et cetera, et cetera. And like, I think my favorite one of those was the, it feels like kind of a callback to some stuff from Fevers and Mirrors. But I think I'll be returning now to the town where I was born, and I understand you must keep moving, friend, but I'm headed home. I thought about that children's book that they were reading from at the beginning of the last record.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Which is fun. But yeah, then of course the song also ends with like another sound collage after that big sky that gets cut off. Which I love, honestly. And the sound collage like has Amazing Grace in it, which gets called back to later. This is an incredible opener. Like I don't know what else to say.
It does not feel like it's 9 minutes long. It just flies by.
No. And like I'm sure a lot of that is the fact that like the intro bit with Jenny and Blake is like a solid minute and a half of the song, I want to say.
Sure, but I mean, you're like five songs into a Joyce Manor record by this point.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, then after that we get to Method Acting, this is where the band starts rocking.
Yeah,
and this feels like the Bright Eyes is a band again right here. And it's, it starts off with this, there's no beginning to the story, which is, I think the idea of like cyclical life and death is mentioned in the big picture, but that is all over this album. And the idea of like, can you escape the cycles or are you doomed to stay repeating forever?
That's some Bright Eyes stuff right there, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Just to point out a musical thing, this happens a decent amount on this album. There's like a marching snare like happening alongside the regular like drum kit snare on this song that I love a lot. I just think that's really fun.
The drummers on this album are all collectively credited as the drum corps in the liner
exactly.
notes.
Yeah.
And so it is a lot of marching snare.
It is a lot of marching snare. But like it's just the blown out like arrangement on this song, like really like this is the statement on, and this is how big we're going to get musically, like that we're going to have met later on in the album again and again.
Yeah, it's just living up to this idea of what is the biggest sound we can make. In this case, it's a marching band, or it's 15 people playing guitars and pedal steels and everything all at the same time.
Yeah.
Thematically, the song is getting into this idea of, I guess, of performance and of like the falseness of performance. And if you perform enough or hard enough, and like this idea of method acting, does that just become the truth that you're living? Which is an idea that I think as Conor gets more and more in the spotlight, he gets kind of obsessed with this idea of like, is anything I do, is there any truth in what I'm doing every day on stage? Is this the real me? Is this a real emotion? Or is this just like, am I just faking it well enough to convince everyone?
Yeah. And this, I feel like I made a couple of notes on this record about like, Conor's already kind of like dealing with some degree of fame, and he's not sure how to feel about it. But the feeling is not great. But I did kind of like the kind of like pulling off from that a little bit, and like kind of the end of this like quote unquote first chorus and the second verse, where he's talking about how he feels better when he sings. But then we get kind of a bit about like the importance of documenting. Well, he literally says, "Yes, we must document our love." With regards to keeping the tape rolling and whatnot. And like, this was in that Davey Havok interview. Basically, he was like, "Yeah, if we didn't have to record the music, and like people just kind of like were able to experience the songs with us live, but still like kind of be able to participate, that'd honestly be ideal." And I'm like, I would push against that a little bit, and I feel like this also kind of pushes against that a little bit. Is like that, like whether or not the recorded medium is like what you're aiming for, like. One, like something like this would not be able to be accomplished outside of the context of like doing all this stuff in a studio without, having 30 people on stage in addition to the 14 you already have. But I don't know, like I like that. I like that that's kind of called out here.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that is an interesting thing to think about, because this is a very studio. I don't want to say full album of studio trickery, but they admit as much in some of the interviews that that Mike Mogis is kind of a studio wizard and is doing a lot of post-production stuff to get these songs to sound the way that they do, but they don't sound faked. Like, you can imagine, like you said, a 15-piece band playing them, which they did end up doing live, but I think it took a lot of work to get there in the studio, like demoing the record multiple times and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, like even just getting the balance of the instruments right is near impossible to do. Like I watched the video from this tour, which obviously didn't have board audio, but like the things were just like kind of overcrowding other things a little bit, and like obviously that's the live experience. Who cares? But I'm like, okay, yeah, like no, it's good that we have this version of these songs.
Yeah, it is really well mixed too. It sounds so clear. And,
oh God, yeah.
Great. Next up is False Advertising. This is kind of a slower one. A really nice string arrangement with a lot of like record player static too, which is kind of a neat little effect that they put on there. And then this song just kind of dives more and more directly into this idea that like there's this pressure to perform your emotions or to perform your songs in a certain way, and the disconnect between the raw emotion of writing or maybe even recording, and then, you know, does the truth of that expression continue through the repeated performances?
Yeah, like it again, we're kind of in this weird like nebulous zone about like the canonical version of some kind of expression of an emotion or of a concept, which, you know, obviously we kind of touched on that on the last song. This like feels like a contrast to that in a lot of ways. Like I literally wrote, wow, real wild contrast to method acting with the you know, the bit about give me all your pity and all your money now, all of it, like set of lines.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's just kind of like going down the rabbit hole. Like, if you just keep doing this, it makes you soulless. I mean, literally, it's like these are false advertisements for a soul that I don't have, is the lyric at the end, near the end of the song.
Right, yeah.
What do you think of the little like theatrical mistake in the middle of the bridge?
I love it. I am such a sucker for that kind of thing.
Same.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one of those things. Like, I feel like every review of this album sort of hits on it as this kind of it's too much. It's too corny, too pretentious. You know, too on the nose. And I don't know. It is silly and it is theatrical, but something about it just works for me. It's just like, yeah, it's music. It's a performance. It's supposed to be kind of theatrical.
Yeah. Well, and then you get that huge like soaring waltzy bridge right after that. Like, why wouldn't you put something theatrical right before it? Like, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And in the song, then kind of towards the end, gets to this another sort of use of lift or lifted. This idea that like I found in a song and the people I love, they will lift me out of the darkness. Which is like a more kind of specific path to joy than I think we found in the previous Bright Eyes records, which were a lot of like, well, if I could just wait it out. But this is like, we can find it in surrounding yourself with people and in making something.
Yeah, and of course, you know, that's still rooted in I'm going to invite everybody through my door and we're going to drink till the sun comes up. But you know what? I'll take it.
Yeah. And
it's a good time.
The applause at the end it's really joyous. It's great.
It really is. Yeah. Yeah. Like normally when we are talking about drinking with Bright Eyes, it is secluded. It is bad. It is reacting to something horrible that's happening. This is a joyous gathering. We get a weird subversion of that later on the album, I think, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Next up is you will. I don't know if I got that quite right, but
it's fine.
Yeah.
You got the lyrics right, if nothing else.
True. And this is a song that sort of is somewhat similar to The Big Picture, has this very kind of like roomy sound at the beginning. It's really, it's you know, I don't remember what the instrumentation is off the top of my head, but I'll say over and over again that I just really like the production of this record and how everything sounds. But the song is, I guess, kind of about a relationship that has gotten a little bit too comfortable, and it goes through the sort of history that he has with this person, and sort of how they are kind of drifting apart and may or may not come back to each other. What do you think of this one?
I like this one a lot. It's kind of a we've kind of, again, like, we don't necessarily like have a vignette per stanza, but we have kind of a like isolated metaphor per stanza in the context of this story, which like kind of makes this song unique, because it's like it's not just tying back to a mood or a theme. It's like, no, like this is a set of events that's happening, but like I'm going to express it in a number of distinct ways.
Yeah, and my favorite thing about the song is the way that the bridge really like turns and twists that will you phrase up. It's a pretty neat effect to build to, I think.
It really is, and that bridge is just so jaunty.
I know. I don't have a ton more to say about this one. I do like it.
Yeah, it's really fun.
But we can get to Lover I Don't Have to Love, which is, probably the most popular song on this album.
Almost
I know
assuredly.
You said this was a big one for you.
I think this was the first time I heard a Rhodes and loved it, or at least was aware that I loved it. I assume it's a Rhodes. I think it's credited as a piano on
Yeah, it's some kind of electric piano.
Yeah, it's either a Rhodes or a Wurlitzer. There's only a couple kinds of electric pianos. Yeah, I don't know. Like, when I heard this the first time, I had never heard another song like this. And like, I think that just kind of always stuck with me. Especially like, you get in the choruses, you get those big string parts, and they almost feel like they are like tugging against the vocals in a way. Like, I don't really know how to describe it properly, but like they're not like out of tune, they're not like out of key, but there's a tension that's happening there that like normally wouldn't be in the chorus of a song. And of course, like, unusual for us to get like a proper chorus with a Bright Eyes song, but we have one on this one. Which I think is what makes it such a big hit at the time compared to, anything else that's happened thus far.
Yeah, and I think that tension that you're getting at it's reflected in the lyrics too. It ties really well. It ties the music and the lyrics together really well. Because the song is all about sex and drugs and like lust and hedonistic pleasure, but it's all with the acknowledgement that like these are things that you're not supposed to want, and yet he does want them.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is a song that really sells you on how good drugs feel, even though they're bad for you. They're fucking great is the message I get from this song.
Yeah. Did you listen to that interview on the Broken Record podcast?
No, I didn't get a chance to. Tell me more.
Okay. There's a great bit in this about this song in that where Conor talks about how as they were working on the production of the song, they had heard that Portishead got test pressings made of like their work in progress, whatever album they were working on, and then they got a test pressing of the song, and then like scratched it all to hell, and then played it back and recorded the scratched up version of the song, and used and like sampled their own song in one of their songs. And so that's what they did. They had a test pressing made of this song and scratched it all up. And that's all the scratching and the distortion in the drum beat in the song is literally just a sample of itself all messed up.
That rules. I love that so cool. much. I had no idea.
Yeah. It's a great, once you hear it, like you can kind of hear where it sounds like record scratching. And apparently that's all just literally a scratchy record. It's a really neat trick, and it sounds awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I had to have known in the back of my mind that there was some fun production trick going on, but I didn't even think that it would have been that. That rules.
Yeah, it's cool. It honestly, it made me like the song a lot more. This has never been one of my favorite Bright Eyes songs. Sorry.
That's fine.
I think that the sort of like darkness and like seediness of the song has always been kind of off-putting to me. But it is very catchy, and I find myself singing along to it a lot more than I like. It'll pop into my head more than I expect nowadays.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it is despite its dark and seediness, it is incredibly catchy.
Yeah,
and I think that's what drew me to it in the first place, because I was fascinated by dark but not morbid shit around this time of my life. Never been that into morbid shit, if I'm honest. But yeah, I don't know. I say, as I'm about to talk about AFI later in this episode,
Yeah.
They're not really all about that. But I had never seen the music video for this song prior to
It's just a karaoke
today.
track.
It's literally just a karaoke video. I
Very
love
funny.
it. It's like a proto lyric video. Like, we didn't really have those at this point.
I thought the exact same thing. That's funny.
That's beautiful.
Did you check out the demo of this that is kind of floating around?
I did. It's cool. I like it. It's not as good as the final product, obviously, but
right. But like the song is there, and like that Rhodes, that like really crunchy, distorted Rhodes sound is there, which is it's cool to hear that kind of on its own.
That was really cool to hear it on its own, and like there were. I think lyrically it's pretty much exactly the same as far as I could tell, but there's some little like vocal tricks that happen in the final version that like aren't quite there in the demo that I'm sure were like Mike suggesting stuff or like Conor trying stuff, and obviously the final product turns out the way it does, so all of it works.
Yeah. Well, and in one of those interviews, Conor said that like he demoed the album 2 times all the way through, and did a lot of work with the band and with the studio musicians to do the arrangements and get it to sound how he wanted it to sound. So yeah, that's the kind of stuff that could definitely build up from like an early demo like that. I really want to hear the full set of demos from this album.
I would love that. Yeah. If you're out there, let us know.
Yeah. Next up is Bowl of Oranges. This has always been one of my favorites on this album. It's a song about the idea that like, depression and loneliness are inextricably linked, but that trying to be there for people and be with people, is one of those things that can over time, like, can help you heal. And I just think it's a really beautiful song with really incredible lyrics.
Yeah, this is as close to an uplifting song as I think we get thus far. There's obviously like a Bright Eyes like little turn to not quite make it as optimistic as it otherwise would be, but it's fine. Which is to say, like you get to the end of the story about the doctor who just like needs somebody there for them. And then, the next line is, "That's how I learned the lesson that everyone's alone." It's like, all right, man.
Yeah, your eyes must do some raining if you're ever gonna grow. I don't know. You can just read the lyrics to the song. There's an element of like, yeah, that was like sort of, live journal, aim away message stuff, but also like it's effective.
It doesn't make it any less. Yeah, it doesn't make it any less effective at all.
Yeah. There's a music video for this song that is pretty cool. It's like
it is
a
really
stop motion, but with like stitched up fabric. I don't think I'd ever seen stop motion done in quite that style before. I thought it was really nice.
Yeah, it's like it's got like some mixed media going on too, and like also it's just got like regular footage that mirrors what's happening in the stop motion, like stitched into. It's really neat. I like it a lot.
I wonder if it's available in more than like, potato quality that it is on YouTube.
I hope so, but unfortunately that's like the official Saddle Creek version, so I think that might be the best we have.
I think that's like a problem with a lot of music videos from that era, is no one bothered to keep the tapes or whatever, or so they're like taped off MTV or whatever it is. It's actually quite hard to find music videos in good quality from that era. That's why it was kind of a big deal. My Chemical Romance put out the 3 Cheers videos in like 4K, and that was like kind of the first time they had been out there in good quality, I think.
Yeah, no, because like I remember watching one of those videos and then watching one of the non-restored ones and just being like, wow, I didn't realize how good we have it now.
Yep, we got by on that for a long time.
Yeah, we really did.
Next up is Don't Know When, But a Day Is Gonna Come. I would say this is the one song on this album that I could probably lose it if I needed to.
Okay.
It's a very somber, slow song that like it builds into this big grandiose orchestral thing. Got a lot of horns, the marching snare, the strings. But this is the one place on the album where I'm just like, it feels like it's a little bit stopped in its tracks.
That's understandable. I do think this song is interesting lyrically because we do kind of get this broadening of scope from the personal to like the wider world in that like kind of 4th and 5th verse about men with purple hearts carrying silver guns, and then news reports and whatnot, which we come back to later on.
Question.
Yeah.
The fifth verse, it's hard to ignore the news reports. That verse is not on the album version of the song, right? that's listed on Genius but isn't actually in the song. Is that from like a live version? I meant to look this up.
No, I'm pretty sure it was definitely on the version I was listening to.
Losing my mind.
How long is the version that you have for yourself locally? I'm gonna check the version I was listening to.
That's a good question. Bright Eyes. We can edit this out if it becomes not interesting.
I've got 6 minutes and 55 seconds.
6:32.
Dang, wild.
Is yours from what's on streaming?
It's what's on Tidal, yeah.
Oh my god. Okay, this is weird. Let me do a quick Google search.
We're learning things live here, everybody.
Let's see. I don't know. Okay. Oh wait. Okay. This is. Yep. Someone on Reddit says thought I had slipped into an alternate reality with a verse I'd never heard before.
This is how I felt the first time I heard the vocals at the beginning of the second
Give 'Em Hell Kid.
Yeah, Give 'Em Hell Kid. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So this is apparently. It was taken out of the original version because Conor thought it was too corny. But he would sing the line. He would like sing that verse during the shows of that era because it was specifically, it's specifically related to the war.
Yeah. No, it's pretty pertinent at the time.
Yeah.
And still,
and I guess it was added back in when they did the remasters in the box set in it was 2016.
Okay, yeah, that checks out.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, because I was reading along with the lyrics on Genius. It's like, oh, there's a whole extra verse here, and I should look up where that was from, and I forgot to do that until right now.
And now we know.
Okay, I won't cut it out. It's now because we learned something.
No, that's good. I like that. There's a good timpani roll in this song too. A good goddamn timpani roll. So
of course.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like this song a little more than you, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and like you said, there's stuff that's good on it. I like it as like a song about questioning faith. I like the lyric. I'm not a child. I'm much younger than that.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. You've got the themes of like the cycles, the end of the world, even as just like another cycle. It kind of gets at that idea. I don't want to hate on it too much. It's like I said, it's just kind of the one spot on the album where I'm like, let's get to the next
the
song.
One spot on this 73-minute long album. I get it.
Exactly. After that is Nothing Gets Crossed Out, which is kind of a song I think about, growing up and being kind of overwhelmed by the world, whether it's all the to-dos or all of the everything, and just wanting to like play basement shows again.
Right, yeah.
I think this is a really wonderful song. What about you?
I really love this song. I think on like really sitting down with the lyrics, like I came to appreciate it even more than I already did. It's cool. Like this is one of those Bright Eyes songs where we're like just everything comes in all at once. We've got big time anxiety throughout the song. Classic great Bright Eyes stuff. Yeah, the line that the title comes from, I keep making these to-do lists, but nothing gets crossed out, is like, let me tell you, that happens to me, not daily, but not irregularly either.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
This is where we get the happy drinking line that also is a weird downer drinking line, asking Tim Kasher to come hang out and get blacked out together, which is the thing I was alluding to earlier.
I love that line, just I heard your record and it's better than good. For whatever reason, that one has always stuck with me. I like the melody of the song a lot, and that's like whenever it's stuck in my head, that's always the line.
Yeah, definitely.
Which a reference to Tim Kasher and his band, The Good Life. I don't think I've ever actually heard that Good Life album, Blackout. I really like Album of the Year, though.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I've listened to that one either, now that I think about it. I'll have to check it out.
We should.
Yeah, we've got a podcast for that.
Yeah. I like how the end of this song kind of turns into this little meditation on fate and determinism, and like, if it's all predetermined, you can't change your destiny. I guess I'll just keep moving. Like, yeah, you just kind of go with it.
It's this thing that we've kind of been talking about a lot, is like, how do you pull yourself out of something that feels like it's this integral part of you, or an integral part of everyone's life, maybe.
Yeah. Next up is Make War. Hey, the pedal steel is back in this one. I feel like it's been maybe a little less present on this album.
A little bit, but it really shines when it's back.
Yes. Another song that I just kind of like a lot. It's kind of about I guess sort of being jealous of the way that an ex or a person that you know has sort of gets to like the bitterness that you and jealousy that you have of like watching a person you love sort of grow up and change with someone else is kind of the central feeling I get from this song.
Yeah, definitely. Like it is. I wrote down, and I'm sorry to anybody who doesn't care about the Mountain Goats listening to this, but also if you're listening to this, you should be listening to the Mountain Goats. I wrote alpha couple energy if they actually broke up.
Okay.
It feels very I don't know. It's just the like I think your description is way more accurate of the like the feeling of watching somebody grow and change with someone who's not you, somebody that you deeply care about or cared about, and maybe care about in a different way now, or the same way, which might be even worse. Another thing I love in this song is the Bruce Springsteen style call outs in the bridge. That's
help
real
me out,
good.
Boys.
Help me out, boys.
Yeah, that is good. I don't know. It's like I said, like we were talking about earlier, this idea that like, yeah, you age, but sometimes the feelings don't age. And like I hear this song and like I know I felt this way before, and it takes me right back to it. And that's kind of the power of a record like this, even hearing it in your mid-30s.
Yeah, and like there are definitely Bright Eyes songs that we might talk about on this episode where like I go, this is a breakup song that's bordering on being a problem, and this is definitely not one of them.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
Yeah, I love the acapella outro too, just before we
and the
move
way
on.
The tape like degrades and then just cuts off mid-word.
Yep, that's very my shit right there.
Yep. Then after that is Waste of Paint. This is another just Conor with a guitar, very long, but I'm just engaged the whole time. I've always really liked this song. What do you think of this one?
I like this one a lot. It's one that I have regularly, and by regularly I mean pretty much until very recently, I mishear the first line as, due to the title, I have a friend who's mostly made of paint. Which like I was like, oh, so his friend's an artist. That all makes sense. I don't need to think about this any further.
Wait, that's not the lyric?
No, he's mostly made of pain.
Oh my God. Even like reading the lyrics, I wait, hold on. I gotta look in the lyric book.
If it's different in the lyric book, I'm willing to buy that more. But like,
gonna edit Genius live on the show if it's not. Nope, you're right.
Dang it! I was hoping you were right.
Okay. Nope. Okay, that's funny. I thought that was. I've been singing this wrong for however many years. 15 years, how long it's been since I first heard this album.
Don't think that's a problem for anybody, including Conor. So, this is another like you said, another like kind of long solo song. This is another like big vignettes song. We get a lot of them, and they're all pretty damn good. So like,
and thematically linked in these ideas about like, what is, I liked the Tom Bryan quote about this, where this is a song about Conor seeing the same self-loathing in all the people around him, whether or not they had artistic brilliance to share. Which that was a good sort of summation of these, 5-6 stories.
Yeah. And like in all cases, it is definitely self-inflicted to some degree or another, but like also takes into account kind of I guess specifically in the drunk driving one about his brother, which apparently the actual story does not go nearly that well. At least in terms of the cop. In terms of the cop interaction, like of course it doesn't go that well.
It feels pretty fantastical, especially now.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, I mean, and to get to this end, I just love the like, I have no faith, but it's all I want to be loved. Which I think, I mean, that is another sort of running theme of this album, which I think I kind of touched on earlier. But this idea that like the grandest ambition, the thing people want most, is just to be loved, and even though it seems like a small thing, it's also the biggest thing.
Yeah, and obviously the way that line is delivered really does make it feel like the biggest thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess the other thing that's kind of worth mentioning about the song is that the first verse is most likely about is it Zach Nipper? Is that his name?
I think so.
The artist who did the artwork for a lot of Bright Eyes, the early Bright Eyes stuff. Specifically, it's about the album cover for Every Day and Every Night, the EP that we talked about a couple episodes ago.
Yep. Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah, and he also does a lot of the artwork for Lifted, except for some of the like inner there's the artwork for this album has like some dioramas, and it also has some like lithograph style things that are that a different artist did. But he's very involved in the early Bright Eyes. I think he had like a whole museum exhibit of like his work largely with Bright Eyes at some point. I was trying to find pictures of it, but I could not.
Oh damn, that would be really cool to see.
Yeah. Okay, so after that is From a Balance Beam. This was sort of a single from the album. It was released on an EP with some B-sides before the album came out. This is like a real gem late on the album, I think. It's a really interesting arrangement. The sort of marching snare drives it. I think this is a great song.
I think it's a great song. It also, I remember looking at the credits for the album before I like dove in, and I was like, there's hammered dulcimer on this album. There's really hammered dulcimer on this song. It's like instrument.
My note is there's harpsichord or whatever, but I guess that would be the dulcimer.
Yeah, a harpsichord would be a lot pluckier, but that I understand why you came to that conclusion.
Yeah, I just the heaviness of the rhythm section paired with the dulcimer is such a great juxtaposition, a really interesting sound.
Yeah, definitely. I like this. Yeah, this song is kind of wonderfully assembled. Really, I've said that about a lot of these songs, but I really mean it here.
Yeah, a couple of lyrics that I really like from this one. I love I was helpless as a chess piece when I was lifted up by someone's hand. I just think that's a great image.
I do like the image of angels carried on wires, and then like finding one with I think it's a broken leg or broken arm, like right at the beginning of the song.
Oh yeah, this whole like it's sort of I kind of read that as like it's about how sort of the way that we, you know, whether it's news coverage or just kind of the modernity, the way we look at the world now has kind of destroyed the entire, like the possibility of wonder or the idea of a miracle or something like that.
Yeah. Because, we end that verse with, it was a spectacle. No, I mean a miracle. Like you want to back into having room for that in your life, even though you are actively like kind of not doing that.
Yeah. Next up is Laura Laurent. Another one of this sort of, I think, signature songs of this album, of this era. A bit of a country ballad, I think. A song about a real person, her named Laura Laurent, the singer of the band The Lazarus Plot, who was from Elgin, Illinois. Somewhat nearby us. By some accounts, she was kind of surprised and weirded out by the song because she wasn't actually that close with Conor.
Oh no.
Is what I read, if you were to believe the various Reddits and live journals. But I think it's a really good song. What do you think of it?
I like it a lot. Obviously, I love a good Chicago shout out. It is. I didn't remember that they were from Elgin, but now that makes the commuter train west to Chicago weird because Elgin is west of Chicago. But whatever, it's fine.
Someone explained this in deep in a Reddit thread that I was reading, was that Laura's family moved from Elgin to Northwest Indiana.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
And that's what the train west of Chicago is referencing.
Great. Then you know what? The geography is correct. I take back everything I said.
You know, the last song, Conor did say his compass was cracked, but it wasn't that broken.
Not quite that broken. Yeah, I don't know. I love how this song feels. Like, it's always a treat to get Americana full band, Bright Eyes type stuff.
Well, just wait till we get to Cassadaga.
Oh God! Oh no, I know. I'm well aware. But this song ends with that like kind of big everybody and the big like la 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 outro. It's great. Like it's really really well put together. And then and then at the very end, shit. Yeah, that was really great.
Yeah, I like that a lot. This song has my favorite lyric on this album, which is, "You should never be embarrassed by your trouble with living, because it's the ones with the sorest throats, Laura, who have done the most singing." I would not be surprised if that's many people's favorite lyric on this album, but it's a very good one.
Yeah, I had that one written down, and I think immediately before it, the do you know why we're in high demand, Laura, us peoples who suffer, because we don't take to arguing and we're quick to surrender, with a big yikes, oh no, after it, for knowing that feeling, a lot.
The la 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 outro you were talking about, they're in the liner notes, the group that sings that is cited as the drunk choir, everyone who was drinking it, whatever the bar was called that night. I think they literally just went to a bar across the street from the studio or something like that and recorded the people who were there.
I love that so much.
It's very good. It gives it like you said, kind of like a real live, like we're at a country show feel.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love that. Like it really caps off the song nicely.
Yeah. All right, and now we are at the epic 10-minute closer, Let's Not Shit Ourselves to Love and Be Loved, the source of the goddamn timpani roll yell that I did at the beginning of this episode. What is there to say about this song? It is a fitting conclusion to an album that is so grand in scope and so ambitious and so like just kind of deeply felt. Everything about the album sort of comes full circle here.
Yeah, it feels like we get a callback to pretty much everything that we have touched on here, including the kind of early stuff that, like, you know, touches on like Conor's feelings about fame and like the you know, the authenticity of what he's doing and such, in the like literally like very pithy I do not read the reviews, no, I am not singing for you. Like that's like that wraps that up really nicely, or horrifyingly, I don't know. But
you know, I was thinking about that lyric, and like, because the line before it is, the ambition I have found can only lead to failure. I don't read the reviews, I'm not singing for you. I don't know how much I believe it, like, or how much I think he believes it. Like because I think this part of the whole thing is that, like, even if, you know, he says ambition can only lead to failure, and there's a lot on this album about how ambitious people are, you know, shot down or do fail, but like at the same time, like, he pulled it off on this album. Like the album is proof of that, and so it's kind of that is kind of like an interesting lyric to think about in that context. I really
think it is.
There, one of I can't remember which. I think it was the which interview it was, or which retrospective it was. But they were like, but he's like, oh, I totally read the reviews, especially the bad ones.
yeah, that tracks.
But yeah, so I mean, there's, again, we can go so many directions with the song. The various images or themes or ideas coming back. But I think the sort of central point of this song, or the central like piece of the song to me, is I don't know what are labeled as verses 4 and 5 on Genius, as much as you want to take the Genius verse labeling, but sure. Where it gets extremely political, where it is all about the Bush administration and the sort of warmongering and fear-mongering after 9/11, and how like the news covers politics at the time, which is like both quaint and also, you know, nowadays, but also like it totally hits still.
Yeah, no, the line honesty, accuracy is just popular opinion turns out still pretty valid.
Yeah, I mean, and again, he talks about this again in the Broken Record interview a little bit too, where that like this was kind of a weird time to be writing, like, you know, like this, because I mean, this is what, you know, 2-3 months after 9/11, and this was a time when like the country was quote unquote most united around this particular kind of like performative patriotism, and he's like railing against that both in the Despacito stuff and in this song.
Yeah, no, like this is the thing that God, sorry, I'm not gonna harsh on them kids who were born after 9/11, but like I think that is something that people like. I don't know how, like, I guess I could ask my sister how 9/11 is taught in schools because she literally does that. But like I imagine that is something that is lost is how insanely popular it was to get behind going over to the Middle East and bombing the shit out of people. Like just unquestionably for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
I wasn't a very politically savvy kid, but I felt like I was losing my goddamn mind around this time. It was insane.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is the feeling he's tapping into. I mean,
yeah.
But we must stumble blindly forward, repeating history. Well, I guess we all fit into your slogan on that fast food marquee. Like, I mean, I'm reading this and I'm like, oh, that's Despeраcido's lyrics.
Yeah, for real.
Or, it's just like true, real protest song stuff, which like he gets even more into shortly after this.
Yeah, well, so what I like especially about the end of that verse is how he slips out of I've kind of been saying like, yeah, these are vignettes that are like tied together like by a mood or by a theme and like sometimes by like a story in a song. But like the way that this verse slips into the next one about ending up in the hospital, like going from red-blooded, white-skinned, and oh, the blues, oh, I got the blues, that's me, woo. I'm not going to do the big woo because it'll break people's ears. And then, like, because, like, we've come out of the, like, broader scope stuff and we're going, like, right back into the personal in, like, a matter of a couple of lines. And I think I see how people could maybe think it's cheesy, but I just think it's really clever.
Yeah, I think so, too. I think it's getting into the next verse is sort of the other I guess kind of big event of the song or whatever, like which is the aftermath of what I assume is either an overdose or like a suicide attempt, which I think is also referenced on Calendar Hung itself. There's a bit about Chicago on that one too, but it has this, to go from this huge, like I said, kind of outwardly political anger to this internal sort of like fear and this like a whisper, I'm so sorry, I'm so selfish, and then this conversation he has with his father where he's like, I'm not angry, it happens, you just can't do it again. I think it's just really effective and shows the entire scope of him as a writer.
Yeah, it's really it's a hell of a verse. It's a tough one, like especially like, yeah, it's maybe a little vague, the circumstances that led to this, like the intent behind them, but like the fact that he says so selfish is like, yeah, this is probably a suicide attempt. And then everything that follows it is like, it is uplifting in a really like realistic way. 'Cause like, I feel like up to this point, like Connor's dad, when mentioned in songs, is like not really, not painted necessarily in a bad light, but like almost not painted in any light. Like he's just kind of there.
Well, I think he's kind of at times kind of the avatar for the like corporate, you just go to your 9-to-5 job every day and it's boring and unfulfilling, and like I think he's kind of mentioned that way. But then in like interviews, the way that Connor talks about him, like he's a musician, he had like a side gig playing in wedding bands, and he like quit his job to be Connor's business manager around this time. And so it's like, I think that the reality is a little bit different than the kind of character who's in some of the songs.
For sure, yeah, and I think that's kind of where like this song like hits even harder, because it's like, no, we are like, this is not fictionalized. Like it could be. I kind of think that it's not at all fictionalized here, so like that makes it even more impactful.
Yeah. And then the song kind of rips into this ending verse that is just, again, it's just so good. I don't know, it's one of those times where I just want to like just read the lyrics out because they're so good. I mean, I don't really want to, but just to say that like it came to my ears in the goddamn loveliest melody, how grateful I was to be part of the mystery, to be loved and to be loved. Let's just hope that's enough. Like what a great, there's words after this in the sort of sound collage outro, but what a great sort of statement to end the album on.
Yeah, it's incredible. Like this, I so rarely come into a 10-minute song that is like by and large like really filling its 10 minutes. Like this isn't a secret track situation or anything like that. And like usually this is the point where it'd be like, I could cut some stuff here, but like no, I want this whole song here every single time. It is truly a triumph, and is the only way I could think to close this album.
Yes. So that is the album. There are a ton of other songs and EPs and stuff to talk about. We can do a quick summary and maybe hit some of our favorites. I guess is probably the best way to do it.
I think so, yeah. Do you have a particular place you want to start?
Well, we should say, so before the album came out, there was an EP called There's No Beginning to the Story, which featured From a Balance Beam and a few B-sides. There was an EP called 3 New Hit Songs, including Drunk Kid Catholic, which I think is a fairly well-liked, sort of B-side. And then there's various songs from splits. There's a split with the Album Leaf. That's like a sort of collaborative thing. There's a split with Britt Daniel from Spoon. Bunch of one-off compilation tracks. There are 2 that I specifically want to talk about. Do you have a couple as well?
Yeah, I think I got a couple that I'd like to hit on.
You want to hit yours first?
Sure. I mean, I think kind of holistically, I like the Album Leaf collaborative situation just because like it's still obviously recognizably Bright Eyes, songwriting wise, but just like some of the sonic qualities and like the way that the instrumentals are approached is like very clearly coming from someplace else. And the Album Leaf isn't a band I'm super familiar with. Like I've heard some of their stuff, but I just kind of like having that little like different element added in there. So I think that was a cool collab.
Yeah, I agree.
But yeah, I mean, you kind of alluded to this, but like I like Drunk Kid Catholic quite a bit. I think that is a fun song, I guess, to put it one way. Yeah, I don't know. I think those are kind of the bigger ones I wanted to hit. I did like the Daniel Johnston cover a lot too. I really need to dive into that guy's discography.
I have a working theory that song is so perfect that it is impossible to record a bad cover of it.
That tracks.
I mean, not that I think any like Conor would ever record a bad cover of it, but I've heard. I've covered that song before. Like I've heard many covers of it, and no matter how shaky the performance is, the song is so perfect that it always works.
Yeah.
Let's see. The couple songs I wanted to call out were so there's Trees Get Wheeled Away, which I think is a particularly significant song from this era. It's on a compilation called Lost and Found. It's also on the Noise Floor, being our podcast name, B-sides compilation. But this song is significant because when the band played on The Late Show with David Letterman, in this era, instead of playing, a song from their big new album, they played a obscure compilation track called Trees Get Wheeled Away. But this song, I think, it fits really well with the rest of Lifted because it's got, again, some of Conor's more political lyrics, and I was thinking, well, maybe Let's Not Shit Ourselves was just too long to play on the time slot.
Sure, yeah.
But it ends with this big statement on sort of performance and performativeness and loneliness and what it means to be up on a stage and be sort of performing your emotions all the time, and maybe it was left off the album because it was too similar to what he's doing in Method Acting and False Advertising. But I think it's actually maybe more effective in this song than any of those other ones.
I feel like that's valid. Yeah, this is a really good one. It's really cool that they played it on Letterman instead of literally anything else.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then the other one I wanted to talk about was Entryway Song, which is just another kind of song from some random compilation that is similar to sort of Big Picture and Waste of Paint. This is just Conor with a guitar. It's long. It's sort of a storytelling song. But the moment that I really like in it is he's sort of talking about his own music or describing his own music to someone. He says, "So I've been writing a new one. Yeah, I've been taking my time with it. It's going to be so perfect. It's going to hold all of us inside of it. If you'll just add your harmony, I think it would be complete and worthy of singing, and be worthy of singing. It becomes a symphony." he's literally describing Lifted in that verse.
Yeah.
Which I found really striking. And like, I don't know when he wrote that. I guess, in the process of writing Lifted or whatever, or a little bit before. And he just nails it. I think that the album lives up to the vision that he has for it, that he expressed in this song, not even just like in interviews.
Yeah. It's a good one.
Yeah. So that's a good one. Those are kind of my two favorites. I mean, you also called out the Daniel Johnston cover that I liked. There's Amy in the White Coat that is a hard song to listen to. Just because of what it's about.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I did want to from the EP shout out We Are Free Men. I actually liked that one a lot.
Oh yeah, with the Simon Joyner features on it. They kind of like are alternating verses.
Yep. Also, there's some great banjo on the Messenger Birds song. But that was like the big thing that I pulled out of that one. So
yeah, I just think a lot of the stuff on that EP is just kind of less engaging than what's on the album.
Yeah, that's valid.
Yeah, just I was like, oh, I can see why you left this one off, even if there's like parts of it that I really like.
Yeah, I also did from the Britt Daniel. It seems like collaborative situation. I did like Spent on Rainy Days.
Same.
That was kind of a novel sound for the band.
Yeah, it's a little more aggressive than they're usually doing.
Yeah, I was like, oh, this is like kind of rockabilly adjacent, like dour, but like rockabilly like nonetheless.
Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of stuff to get into. Some of it is like not super readily available. You got to go on YouTube. It's not all on streaming services, but like it's worth seeking this stuff out. Like Blue Angels Air Show is really good.
Yes.
Yeah. All this stuff is worth seeking out if you're a fan of this band at all, or this era of the band specifically. And then there's also the companion EP, which we should talk about a little more specifically. Like we've talked about, this is 5 songs from the album re-recorded plus a cover of the Azure Ray song November. Any particular ones you really liked on this companion EP?
There are a few. I like the big picture. I like that it gets this kind of like big rock situation
bluesy
going.
And sick. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. And also gets weird. I think the big standout for me is probably You Will, You Will, You Will, You Will. Because it's just like mostly mallet percussion, which is very
so
good
cool
to me. I feel like these are some of the biggest reaches we've seen thus far. Not every single song on this companion EP, but like the big reaches are like bigger than we've seen up to this point.
Yeah, I don't really like the Laura Laurent version on this. It's just too slow.
It's everything's drenched in reverb. Like there's not a lot notable about it.
Yeah, I really like Jillian Welch on Nothing Gets Crossed Out. I think that's a really nice feature. The Waste of Paint full band version is pretty cool, although maybe not like preferable to the original version by any means. But yeah, I agree with you. Those first 2 songs on this are pretty awesome.
Yeah, on Waste of Paint specifically, that build up to She Was Free is like really big on this version, and I really appreciate that. There's also some changed lyrics on that one, which is to say there's instead of your father's name is known, it's your brother's name is known.
Oh, interesting. I didn't catch that.
I had to re-listen to it because I was like, is Conor giving himself props?
I mean, kind of. Yeah, it makes the most sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's I would rank this, I like it more than I liked the Fevers and Mirrors companion for sure. I mean, maybe we should rank the companion EPs separately at the end of this series. They're interesting. And then, the one other thing we should mention is, I guess after the companion EPs, this quite recently actually, they released Recluse I Don't Have to Love, which is a mashup of Lover I Don't Have to Love and Cursive's The Recluse, which is pretty fun.
It is pretty fun. I don't know. I did not listen to this when it came out, and I don't know why I went in expecting it to be like either thing re-recorded in any way, shape, or form. It is literally just a mashup, but it's still really fun.
Yeah, I think they released it as a charity, like Bandcamp thing.
Yeah, no, it's
worth checking out.
Yeah, the money goes to helping an org that works with. I forget exactly what it said. I know it has to do with LGBTQIA plus equity. That's a really vague phrase, but sounds like it's a good cause.
I'm sure that's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a lot of Bright Eyes. We've been going long on this one, which is fine. Do you have a random recommendation for this week?
I sure do, and it's related to a band that I just shouted out 2 episodes ago, but that's fine. I want to recommend this week that people go listen to the new AFI album, Silver Bleeds the Black Sun. I'll keep this short because I'm still really high on this album and I could probably go on forever. AFI is a band that I have loved since I was a wee lad, maybe longer than I've loved Bright Eyes, but they are a band that I fell off of kind of hard around 2009. And then didn't super get back into until about 2022 when they released Bodies, an album where they like kind of seemed like they were stopping. They stopped worrying about sounding like the band they were in the early 2000s. And this record really goes hard in the paint on that. It is a full-on like goth rock album. This band has always been influenced by acts like The Cure and Bauhaus and Joy Division. But like they really lean into it on this one, and Davey Havok, the lead singer, really leans into his baritone, which is really lovely. Like he's got an incredible voice and apparently incredible range. But honestly, this album is front to back really great. I don't think there's a miss. It seems like a lot of people are real hot on this one who haven't really cared about the band for the last 10 years or so. So that's really cool to see. I got to see them play at the Salt Shed the same day that the album came out, and the band is still incredible. So yeah, Silver Bleeds the Black Sun. If you haven't checked it out and you've ever liked anything AFI has done, or you like any of the bands that I mentioned that influenced this record, recommend checking it out.
Yeah, co-signed. This album's really good.
Yeah. What you got?
I'm going to recommend this new album called From Now On by the English pop punk band Beauty School. This is a band that I found out about, last year probably, or earlier this year. They have a song called Reaper, which is on this album, that features Dan Campbell from the Wonder Years, which is just like the easiest way to get me to check out your band. And this album is like, it's kind of that like heavier pop punk sound, sort of in the vein of like someone like Anxious, or my snarky review of this is what if Neck Deep was actually good. That
review made me want to check this out.
Yeah, no, and it's it's like just they're the other English pop punk band. But yeah, I don't know. It's a little bit hardcore influence, but it's really like, it's Wonder Years, it's Jimmy Eat World, it's all that sort of thing, which is, just right down the middle for me. And I think the lyrics are really good. I think it's just a really well-performed album, well-paced album, and I think this band has a lot of potential. I hope they do a big US tour soon. That's really dope. I'm looking forward to checking this one out. Yeah, and I guess we should also say that we are both also recommending Holy Roller, the new single by The Format. This was like a absolute knockout of a single, and I'm so excited for their new record next year too. I'm also so glad that I didn't listen to the 30-second TikTok clip, because I would have been tortured for days by that. Yeah, incredible song, incredible band. I'm so glad they're back for real. Yep. Yeah, so I think that's it for this week. We will be back next week. I guess the next thing in the Bright Eyes discography is their Christmas album, but we are going to save that until a little bit closer to Christmas, for our own sanity, so we're not, listening to a Christmas album in October. Right. But so next week we're going to be talking about, I assume I'm Wide Awake It's Morning, I think is the plan. We're doing an episode each on I'm Wide Awake and Digital Ash, even though they were released on the same day. Yeah, we can't subject ourselves to that many songs. I'm sorry, y'all. I mean, we kind of have already, but we want to give each album its due. Yes, and they're very important records. Yeah. But yeah, in the meantime, find us on the internet at noisefloorpodcast.com. Follow us on Instagram at noisefloorpod, and send us mail at noisefloorpodcast@gmail.com. And we will see you next week. See you next week.